Welcome to another day of the vlog. Finished a kind of easy, like really easy, longish run. Just like an hour and a half or so. It's all on ridiculously muddy trails. Like, look at these legs. Crazy. So today what I wanted to talk about though is my nutrition from race day, because there's so many things out there right now swirling around about low carb, this and that and the other, and I just want to show you what I'm doing. So I'll catch you back inside in just a little bit. Alrighty, we're back. So after the run there was a hour-long bike, and then this is actually the next day, because I was busy watching the Leaf game, so I wasn't gonna do my filming right then. But yeah, so there was disappointing loss, I'm telling you. Why did they pull the goalie that early? I have no idea. But anyway, so just cleaning my shoes off. Still hadn't cleaned them after the race, and I want them. I mean, you can't have dirty shoes. That's a big no-no. Look at that, sparkling. If you're interested in hearing more about the shoes, I could do a video on that if you like. Just what I think about them, like comfort level, sizing, etc., stuff like that. Then I could do a video on it. But for now, nutrition, like I said, on race day. I'm not going to get into too much the nutrition in the day before the race or anything like that, because I'll say it's pretty similar to what you saw in that last video. It was just more carbohydrate and even less veggies. Like I said, there's so much stuff right now swirling around, like high fat, low carb kind of things and stuff like that. And I said this before, I'll say it again, that yes, you could find some people here or there that are going to perform well with that, but fact of the matter is I'd say probably that's because they just happen to be a good athlete. It's not the high fat diet that's doing it for them, and I'd say more than likely I bet you they'd do even better if they were on high carbohydrate, because and like I said, if you want to discuss kind of things like that, then feel free to comment and I'll give you my opinion on it. But it's like, so you know, in fourth year university I wrote I believe it was around a 30-page literature review on carbohydrates during exercise. I think I had about 5 pages of references backing me up on that lit review. So there's a lot of research backing up high carbohydrate, as much carbohydrate as you can tolerate, or the benefits of carbohydrate during endurance exercise. And I mean, fact of the matter is the benefits of it. It seems silly to me that we're thinking about like going against this, when it's like, even like 125 years ago in the very first Boston Marathon, even with as little science evidence or research that they had, even then they knew that they needed carbohydrates during the race, and that's why they had the little lozenges and stuff like that, and they had cups of tea at their kind of aid stations along the race. So I find it funny that even 125 years ago, with no scientific really evidence at that time, even then they knew that you need sugar to compete for long periods of endurance exercise. You didn't see them going out there with a hunk of butter. It was lozenges, little candies, and tea. Anyway, before I say all this, I'll say that my performance on the day was incredibly, and I think this is largely because of the nutrition, it was extremely consistent as it's getting, for me at least. And like, there was no, I'll tell you, from just a feeling perspective, like I had no like feeling of, oh, there's a bonk coming, or I'm feeling low on energy at any time. I felt like my energy levels, if you took my blood glucose or anything like that, was very consistent throughout, and that shows actually in my splits from the race. Anyway, so overall the performance on the day was very steady, very solid, and like I said, I felt zero GI issues and zero kind of energy type depletion issues or anything like that. So I think I really hit the nutrition good on this. So here's what I did. I had breakfast 3 hours and 15 minutes before the race. So that breakfast was almost entirely carbohydrate. So it was actually just 2 pieces of white bread, so very low fiber, and then a bowl of Fruit Loops, again very low fiber, just straight simple carbohydrate, a cup of coffee and a banana. And that was breakfast. That was 3 hours and a half roughly before the race. 2 hours before the race, I had 1 liter of water and I put 3 electrolyte tablets in it. So that's 1,000 milligrams of sodium with 1 liter of water, because you want it to be roughly 1-to-1 of milliliters to milligrams of sodium. So it's 1 liter of water with 1,000 milligrams of sodium. 45 minutes before the race, I had a bottle, a 600 ml bottle, and half that bottle, or roughly half, so 250 milliliters was a can of Red Bull, not the sugar-free, normal Red Bull, 30 grams of carbohydrate in that, and the other half was water, and I added in 1 packet of the SOS. So in total, that means that's 600 milliliters from the bottle and roughly 450 milligrams of sodium 45 minutes out, and you're getting the caffeine from the Red Bull. 25 minutes out, just before I jumped in the water for my warm-up swim, I then had 1 GU gel, that's 25 grams of carbohydrate. So that means that in the hour right before the race, I consumed, in 45 minutes rather, right before the race, I consumed 55 grams of carbohydrate. So almost 220 calories of carbohydrates. That's going to be enough with the breakfast in it. That will have been more than enough to saturate liver glycogen stores after muscle glycogen stores would have been saturated the day before with the 10 gram per kilogram of carbohydrates on that day. It takes roughly, by the way, around 1.2 to 2 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram to set in the 2 hours roughly leading before the race to saturate those liver glycogen stores. Anyway, so that was the pre-race. On the swim, obviously I didn't take anything, and then on the bike, this is what I had. I had 2 bottles of Tailwind Nutrition. Each of those bottles had 3 scoops of it, so each of those bottles were 75 grams of carbohydrate with roughly 1,000 milligrams of sodium in it. I then had 1 bottle of Gatorade, that was at around 50K, and 1 bottle of water, that was roughly 65, around there. I was on the 3rd lap. I had 1 bottle of straight up water, and at around 75 kilometers on the bike, I had 1 Science and Sport gel. So overall on the bike, I consumed 2.7 liters of fluids, 2,500 milligrams of sodium, so very good on that electrolyte. Like I said, you want it to be roughly 1-to-1 ratio of milliliters of fluid to milligrams of sodium. And here's the best part. Here's why most likely your energy levels were dead consistent throughout. I consumed exactly 215 grams of carbohydrates in 2 hours and 9 minutes, which if you work out is on the dot 100 grams of carbohydrate per hour. So it's definitely at that upper limit, but I had, like I said, no GI issues, so I think that's a testament to the Tailwind Nutrition being just a very good, simple fuel and very easy on the stomach. So I highly recommend it, and I'm not sponsored by them at all. The Tailwind, by the way, has caffeine in it as well, and that's good for endurance performance, clearly backed by research. Anyway, so 100 grams per hour of carbohydrates on the bike. And then on the run, I did a Science and Sport gel every 6 kilometers. So I did at 6, 12, and 18 kilometers. Each one of those gels is 22 grams of carbohydrates. So on the run in total, in an hour and 17 minutes, approximately, I had 66 grams of carbohydrate. And that works out to around 52 grams of carbohydrate per hour. So for sure lower than the bike, but on the run you're not going to be able to consume 100 grams of carbohydrate per hour. It's just not going to happen. So 52 grams is pretty good. If you're wondering what did I have at the aid stations, this time I actually did something different than I've done in previous races. In previous races I kind of just had whatever that I just happened to grab at the aid station and didn't put too much thought into it. This time actually I did exclusively water at the aid stations, and the reason is because in previous races I think, and I know this just from experience, I find they're just not consistent when you grab the the cup of Gatorade. I wanted to keep this as controlled as possible, and I know the Science and Sport gels were working well for me in practice, and I didn't want to add Gatorade and stuff like that from the aid stations into the mix. Like I said, the reason being because you don't know, and I've had it before where you grab the Gatorade and it's the lightest tasting thing of all time, so it's probably a 2% solution. And then there are other times where you grab it and it's like, that's got to be a 15% thing of Gatorade, because like it's just this like the most concentrated sugar of all time. So I wanted to keep that really controlled. My carbohydrate kind of balance in my stomach very controlled, and that's, I think that's the reason why I just did water at the aid stations. Now in future races I'd like to do that exact same method again, but I'd like to have a salt stick or something like that, something to kind of have the water at the aid station, then have some of the salt, just kind of lick some of the salt off of that, just to get the electrolyte balance up, because actually on the run I didn't have very many electrolytes, because the Science of Sport gels don't have much, but from an energy levels perspective I was very good. And on the bike, I'd say on the bike I nailed the fluid, the electrolyte, and the carbohydrate. On the run, I think the carbohydrate and the fluid was excellent, having 2 to 3 cups of water at every single aid station, and then ice down the tri-suit to cool off, to stay cool. And but I do think I need a little bit more electrolyte on the run to make it absolutely perfect. So anyways, I hope that helps. If you have any, it's hard to do it in this way, but if you have any questions on anything, like if I went through it a little bit too quick or you didn't catch something, then feel free, please ask in the comments below. Or if you have any questions for yourself, then feel free, again, let me know in the comments. And yeah, we can get a good discussion going on this. I think overall my biggest thing from it that I'm trying to get across in this is that I'm really hoping that it comes, like, I'm really hoping that you take from this that carbohydrates are 100% necessary during endurance sport for optimal endurance performance. And yes, there are people out there saying, you know, low carb, high fat, and this and that and the other, but it's like, I'm telling you, the research is overwhelmingly in favor of carbohydrate, high carbohydrate, as much as you can handle during endurance exercise. And I would strongly recommend you go that route, and don't give in to this kind of trend, fad, whatever that's going around right now of fueling on avocados. It's like, it's a trend. Carbohydrate in endurance sports been around for more than 100 years. I would stick to that. It's so well proven that it's not like, oh, we need more evidence to determine this or that or the other. It's literally in the textbook that it's 60 to 100 grams of carbohydrate per hour is necessary for optimal endurance performance. Anyways, and like I said, if you want to challenge me on that, feel free. I like to get the discussion going. As usual, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, again, feel free to ask, and I'll see you tomorrow.